Hello and welcome back to another video tutorial from Geekatplay Studios. When I first got Hexagon, I had lots of ideas in my head on what projects that I wanted to create. And I was vaguely familiar with the tool set that it had and how to use them, but I didn't know how to use them to create the projects that I wanted to make. Specifically, I did not know how to make windows very well. And one of the first projects I wanted to make was a building, and buildings have to have windows. And this was about the best that I could think of to come up with using my knowledge of the tools that Hexagon has. Got a building, you cut a hole in a building, that's pretty simple, just use a Boolean operation. Cut a hole in a building like that, and well, you got to have glass, so created a pane of glass. And well, I got to have a frame around the window because windows always have frames. And the best I could think of to do was create 4 cubes, elongate them, make them look like wooden boards, and eyeball their placement around the window. And windows always have to have these little pieces of wood, which are called mullions, and so I created 2 cubes and stretched them out, shrunk them down, and that was the best I could come up with because that was all that I knew of how to use the tool set that Hexagon has. Well, I make a lot of models now, and am always making windows and doors, and I realized that I had to learn a better method of creating windows than what I was previously using, not only for aesthetic reasons, but to make it more efficient and more precise in the projects I was making. So I came up with a quick and efficient way of making windows in buildings, such as, well, like what you see here on this model. We have a nice outer border on the windows. Inset inside of the outer border is another little border for the window. And got the glass panes, which are prerequisite, and these little mullions, which break up the outline of the glass pane. And it looks very nice because it's very detailed and very precise in the arrangement and the alignment of the objects, and it's very easy to do this. Here's another modification of this same window design. The design options that you can think of are practically limitless using this technique. So let's get started. I'm going to come up here and create a cube. Click on Cubes in your 3D Primitives tab. And now over here I've got my custom toolbar. And you can access these by right-clicking on any of these tools or 3D primitives, and it will ask you if you want to add this tool to your custom tool palette. In this case, let's go ahead and say yes, and it added the sphere to my customs tool palette. But I don't want to make a sphere, I just want to make a cube. So I'm going to be accessing these frequently used tools that I have added to my custom toolbar over here, and I will try to also find them up here if you're not familiar with them. So grabbing our cube, let's elongate it just a little bit like that, make it look like a building. Now we need to create another cube to create our make our window with. So grabbing our cube, make a cube just like that. Now I'm going to center it and lay it up flush against my building by using the lay on command, which you can find under the utilities command. Lay on, I will click on my window, and then I will click on my building, and what that does is it lays it up flush against the surface of the building, and it centers it for us. Clicking on my window, it's a little bit too large. I think I want something a little bit smaller. Oops. I think I want something a little bit smaller. Let me lay it on here again. And to finish out this tool, we need to validate it. Now, shrink it down just a little bit, like that. Let's elongate it, make it look like a nice regal window from some parliament building. Let me arrange it over here. What I want to eventually do is create a series of these across the front of the building here. And that looks like that'll work. Okay, getting on with our window. I'm going to come up here and select the Select Edges command. I'm going to click on that edge. I'm going to hold down my Shift button and click on that edge. Under the Surface Modeling tab, I'm going to click on Chamfer. And that will add a nice radius to the top edge of our window. That's a little much, using that setting. This selects how many facets in your radius that you want to select, and this adjusts the radius of your window. I'm going to go with about 6, and I'm going to eyeball it to this setting right here. That looks about good. I'm going to go ahead and click Validate on this, and that's the look that I'm looking for. I'm not worrying about precise alignment just yet. Now, to get on with our window, we need to create the outside border or trim around the window. We're going to do that by clicking on, with our window selected, I'm going to click on Select Faces. I'm going to select the front of my window. Over here in Vertex Modeling, I'm going to click on Sweep Surface. And this tool is pretty nice. It has several functions to it. One, it allows me to, well, I'll show you. It has an axial function, it has a radial function, it has an extrude function, and it has a sweep function. And right now you see that the sweep function is highlighted, and that's what effect we're getting from the tool right now. If you click on any of these other functions, it will change the dynamics of the tool. But I don't like coming over here with my mouse to click on it every single time. What I do like doing, which I find easier, is hitting the space bar. And by hitting the space bar, if you look, it rotates through all the various functions. And to begin with creating the outside trim of the window, I'm going to use the, see right here, the radial function. And rather than come out, I'm going to come in just about like that. I'm going to click Validate. Unfortunately, what this tool does not do is it does not create a perfectly symmetrical inner radius. So I'm going to come up here to Select Edges. I'm going to click on one of my edges. I'm going to hit my Loop command, and that will create a continuous loop around this border that I initially selected on by clicking on this edge. And to make it symmetrical, I want to come in just a little bit. Maybe come out. And that looks pretty good. I'm going to click on my Select Faces button, and I'm going to select the face of this window because I'm happy with the diameter of our outside border trim. I'm going to click on Sweep Surface command again, and hit my space bar. Now I'm going to extrude, rather than come out, I'm going to extrude inward, just about to there. I'm just eyeballing it just to get a good idea on how I want my window to look. Nothing's really precise at this point. Okay, with that having been done, I'm going to hit Validate, and I'm going to extrude inward again, or create an inner radius. And I'm just going to eyeball it. This radius is going to be a lot smaller than my initial one because this is the inside diameter of the window, the inside trim of the window. Go ahead and validate that. Hit my Select Edges command, loop that, and I want to bring that in just about like that. Now I'm going to expand it because I want it to be a thin little border. And that looks pretty good. I'm going to go up here and hit my select faces, select the face of that surface again, and hit my sweep tool command. I'm going to hit my space bar. I don't want to extrude out. I want to go inward. Just like that. Hit validate. And there we have our window. I'm going to pull this object away from the front of my building, and I could, because I really don't want the object this deep. I'm going to select the back of it, and with the back selected, I'm going to bring it forward until it is, if I come too far forward, it's going to occlude this back face. I want to come just about to there. So it's not too far forward, but it's not too thick either. Okay, so there we've got our window and our building. We're going to take our window now and we're going to move it against and inset it into our building. We're not going to lie it in flush. I'm going to bring it in just to about there. Now we need to use this to cut a hole into our building to create the windows, and this is the form that we're going to use to cut the hole into the window. But I want more than one window, so I'm going to duplicate this. So let's say 4 windows across here. I'm going to come up to my utilities command and I'm going to select multiple copies. And as you see, by selecting multiple copies, it automatically starts off by giving us one, and it lays it up just to the right of our first object along the x-axis. Well, I want it a little bit further than away from the first one, so I'm going to increase the offset, and because I want 3 copies, 4 total windows, I'm going to go ahead and set my number to 3, giving me a total of 4. And now I'm just going to increase the offset of the windows until it looks aesthetically pleasing. I'm not going for precision here. We can do that on another tutorial. This is on creating the windows itself, not necessarily on aligning them. And that looks pretty good. I'm satisfied with that. I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. Now what this does is it gives me my original window right there and the 3 copies that we created, and if I can click on it, here are the 3 copies that it created. What I want to do is cut them into my building all at the same time, so I'm going to ungroup that. And we don't need dynamic geometry. We're not going to be using that. So I want to select all 4 of my windows. Hold down my shift key and click on the bottom window. I've got with all 4 selected. I'm going to come up here to my Boolean operation, which you can also find under your surface modeling tab. I'm going to click on Boolean operation, and I'm going to, with the 4 windows selected, I'm going to click on my building. And what this has done is it has created a Boolean operation on my building. But this is not the function I exactly want. What I don't want to cut volume 2 cut by volume 1. I want to create a union and unite all of these together. So I'm going to click on the second icon here, which is union, and that's the look I'm looking for. And to finish off this command, I'm going to hit validate. So here's our building with the 4 windows that we have created. You can adjust the depth of the window by clicking on, and these will end up being our glass panes on the innermost face of the window, click on that, hold down your shift button, click on the remaining 3, and you can adjust the depth of the window to however you like. I like it about probably there. And since these are already selected, we're going to use these as our glass panes. I'm going to come up here to the Vertex Modeling tab, and we're going to remove these from the building. We're not going to delete them, but we're going to create 2 objects. One, the glass panes, and leave the building as its own separate object. So with the glass pane selected, click on Vertex Modeling tab. I'm going to come up here to the Extract command, and it extracts it from the building. And now we've got our glass panes as separate objects. I'm going to go ahead and hide those for now. Select our building. We won't be doing any further cuts in our building, any other modifications to it, so I'm going to go ahead and name it now so that we don't forget what it is and get confused with some other objects that we'll be creating. So these are our windows. We have our glass. Now we need to create those little mullions that I mentioned earlier that break up the outline of our glass panes. I'm going to come up here and create a cube. I'm going to create a very small cube. And now I'm going to come up here to my lay on command. I'm going to click on one of the edges of one of the faces of my cube, and I want to put it right here. Oh, that is a little large, so we'll need to resize it. Bring it down. That's still a little too big. Let me see, how does that look? Oh, that's alright. Resizing it and moving it around, it has taken it from being flush against the building, so we need to lay it up flush against there again. We're going to use the lay on command that we learned earlier. Click on lay on, click on the face of my cube, click on the bottom surface of the inside of the window, and there we go. With our cube selected now, I'm going to click on the top of it, and I'm going to stretch the cube all the way up to the top so that it lies flush against the top and the bottom of our window. And there we are. So we've got 1 mullion. And that's nice if that's all you want, but actually I want a couple more. For this tutorial, I want to have 3 going vertical mullions going across the span of the inside of the window. And this was difficult for me to get lined up precisely when I was initially making buildings. How do you get these to all line up equally and evenly, not only in relationship to one another, but also in their relationship to the perimeter of the window? Figured out a quick way to do it, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to click on our lay on command with our mullion selected. Click on our lay on command, select, I don't know, one of the sides of the mullions, and click on the inside edge of your window, and it lays it up flush against it. But that's not how we want it aligned with our inside perimeter of our window. If you come over here, since the lay on tool is still active, if you come over here to your properties button, you see this other option, other portion of the tool, which is inversion. If we click on that, what it does is it, rather than lay it on this side of the inside of our window, it lays it on the other side. Come down here to a wireframe view, and you can see that it's on this side of the window. If we click on it again, well, it's not going to do it again. Inversion off. We click on inversion off, it lays it on that side. If you click inversion on, it lays it on the other side. And on the outside of the inside perimeter, that's where we want it. So go ahead and hit your validate to finish off that tool. And there we go. We can barely see it. It's slightly occluding through the inside perimeter of our window, and that's fine. Now what we want to do is we want to create copies of it and arrange them across the inside of the window. And the way we're going to do that is come up here to Utilities, create multiple copies. And again, it first starts off by creating a copy along the x-axis, and that's what we want, but we want to adjust the offset a little bit. We want to have 3, just like that. But in order to arrange these properly, we need to create a 4th copy. And as we work through this, you will see why 4 of them need to be created. Now we need to work on our arranging. This is too little. 624 is close. 724 is too much. So we're going to come back down to 624, and we're going to play with these last 2 digits until this last mullion is in the same position on this side of the window frame as our first mullion is. So with these 2 digits selected, let's try 40. And it moved over a little bit more. Let's try 60. Excuse me, 60. And we're gaining on it. 70. A little bit too much. Let's try 68. Not enough. 66. 64. Up. There we are. 65 looks like it might be the magic number. Let's zoom out, do a wireframe view, and it looks like 64 is exactly the number we want to lay it flush against the outside of that interior perimeter. I'm going to hit validate, and yes, it's lined up flush against the far side, or the outside of this perimeter, just as this one is. Now the first mullion we created, we don't need this one anymore, so we can select it and get rid of it. And that 4th mullion that we created, we only want 3 in here. We don't need that one either, so we can select that and get rid of it. And here is our group of mullions. If I can select it, if it's going to let me select it, running a video recording software tends to slow down the responsiveness of my computer. So there we've got our 3 mullions perfectly aligned, not only in relationship to one another, but also in relationship to the inside of the window. Pretty cool. Now all we need to do is adjust it vertically. We've got the horizontal adjustment done. Now let's work on the vertical adjustment. Select the group of mullions, hit our lay on tool, select this middle one here, and then on our building, click on the inside perimeter, validate to finish off that tool, and there we've got our mullions perfectly aligned. And we're going to wrap up this tutorial here, and we will finish it off with a second tutorial to complete this project. So thanks for watching, and don't be sure not to miss the second tutorial to finish up this window making project. And thanks for watching here at Geekatplay Studios. Have a good day.